Hi, welcome to Dr. Lisa Soul Senti podcast. I'm Dr. Lisa. I'm so excited that you are here. Today we are going to talk about fertility and infertility. And we are going to get into some of the podcasts in the future, maybe do a little series here of hormones. But this specific one, I want to do the season of being fertile. So that season would be, fertility and infertility. There are different seasons with hormones. There's fertility, infertility, obviously pregnancy, post-pregnancy, that's a different season. And then you have the perimenopause and the menopause. And your elder years too, which they're going to call postmenopause. So there's different seasons in a woman's life with hormones. And I'd like to start addressing those and sharing with you guys some of the clinical things I've seen over the years, things that have helped, and then a little bit of things that didn't help, or didn't work. So you can kind of navigate this for yourself. My goal is always to educate you and provide tools that will work for you, but I'm giving you them based upon my clinical experience, what I've seen that works the most. So that's what I'm hoping to achieve here. And I want to talk about the season of fertility and infertility for those girls that are of that age. And if the younger girls come to me and they might have issues with their, let's start there with your period, having problems with the symptoms, PMS, cramping, pain, bloating. It could be also emotional, there could just be anger, I know people say that, crying, oh my gosh, they'll come to me and be like, I'm just crazy, but I don't want anyone to know it, I am. I know that I personally sometimes my days that where I get angry or blow up or just, be a mess emotionally, I would get my period maybe 5 hours after that moment of just losing it. So a lot of the times the hormones and how they're rising can affect us women emotionally and physically. So we can't sit here, and it shouldn't be taboo. We're not crazy, although we feel that way, or we may look that way to our spouse or to our friend or our partner, but it shouldn't really be a taboo topic. So that's why I want to talk about these feelings. And I've had girls that come 17 all the way up to, we will talk about, your late 30s, your 40s, your 50s, because that's a whole nother thing. But if we're talking about these fertile seasons, these fertile years, and you're having emotional, issues during your time of your period, or when you menstruate, or maybe when you ovulate, that it's not normal, but it's common. And it is, maybe I should say it is normal. I don't like the word because we're all so different. And then some months you might be fine and some months you won't be. So it's like, what is the normal? But I don't want it to be taboo. So that's what we're going to talk about, is some of these issues. So I have the young girls sometimes come who their periods might not be often. So that's another problem we see. And they're not regular. And we also have people that come and don't have a period, right? That's amenorrhea, when you're not having it. And then maybe some, very few, but young girls sometimes get it too much, right? And then the bleeding could be really heavy. The cramping can be really heavy. Lots of things going on here. I might be missing some, but you get the idea. So these are the seasons that we go through. And when you decide that you want to have a baby and you're trying to get pregnant, or you're about to get pregnant, like you're like, okay, I'm going to try it, in 6 months, I'm going to try in a year. I have a lot of amazing young girls. Like, I am in awe of these girls. They'll come to me 27 years old, 28, 29, and they want to clean up their body. They want to clean up their lifestyle. They want to get as healthy as they can before they go into the years of getting pregnant. And they stick with me, which is absolutely amazing, because I've watched them come to me and say, hey, and a lot of times their new husbands are sitting right next to them. I think it's amazing. And they go on this venture together. And yes, they invest money into their health and their fertility, and they clean up their lifestyle, their diet. They get pregnant, and then they're healthy during the pregnancy. And then after the pregnancy, they'll even come with me with issues there, because that's another season, right? Or even sometimes we start with a baby. So it's amazing, and I love watching them take that journey, and I'm still with them. So if you are listening and you're one of them, it's been a beautiful, beautiful part of my practice. And also some of the girls come to me, late 20s, 30s, mid 30s, late 30s. They either can't get pregnant, Or they may have tried fertility avenues and no go, not happening. So they come to me and they're just distraught. And they're just, help me get pregnant. And this podcast is really about the body's amazing ability to heal itself, the body's ability to really overcome a lot of things. Now, yes, there could be physical things going on that the medical world has to address. But again, functional medicine works beautifully with the medical world. It's a twofold thing, so you can understand. I always say you want to really try the natural ways and the functional ways: homeopathic, chiropractic, functional medicine, nutrition, cleaning up your lifestyle, removing all the toxins. And we're going to go over this stuff in a minute. You want to try these ways before you have to venture into a pregnancy, trying to get pregnant, or trying to have to do infertility treatments. They can work beautifully together, but I always say try to do all the natural ways before trying to get into the medical or into the surgical. Not that they're not needed, but that's really the best thing to do. And I wish more, if you're listening, medical doctors, I wish you would send more people to the functional, to the alternative healthcare, have them try these things before loading them up on medicine, because we all know that medicines have some crazy side effects, especially long term. Okay, so that's that little thing. That's the idea of this fertility. So like, what can you guys start doing now? We're talking to the younger girls. We're talking to the seasons and mothers. If you have young girls, you know, this is you listening and then thinking about your daughter's, you know, fertility. Now, in America, a big thing is the pill, right? Getting on the pill, getting on the birth control pill. And also, you know, in a later season, sometimes we do post-pregnancy, we do birth controls also. But let's stay in the season of the fertile years. So the birth control is common. The birth control pill is very common with these fertile years. And there's a little taboo on that sometimes too, because mothers will come in and be like, well, it's for her cramping, or it's for this, or for it's that. It's okay. I don't question why you're on the pill or why you're not on the pill. And my goal isn't to get you off the pill or to, you know, interfere with any of that. My goal is to look at your body and say what could possibly be causing your concerns that you're in my office for. So if you're in my office for, let's say that you haven't gotten your period in a while, or you're getting it too often, or you're getting it random, that's something is of concern. That's not the healthiest. That's not a sign of being healthy. Or if your periods are really bad, or if you're heavy bleeding, or if you're, again, that emotional roller coaster thing, and you want help with that. And yes, if you want to get pregnant, we help with that. So the pill is one thing we would discuss, but that is something that does affect your hormones, right? It does affect your ovaries, and it does affect you. I'm not going to get into that one in this talk, because this talk is about what can you do. What are some of the tools that you could take away from this podcast or give your daughters? And the number one thing is really eating healthy. And I know that sounds obvious. You're like, okay, I don't turn it off. Don't turn the podcast off, because we're going to get into this. But I know it sounds obvious, but in America, we eat more products than we eat food. Our kids eat more products than they eat actual real food. I'm going to say it again, because I saw this on the social media and I thought it was beautiful, and that's totally what this is. When you're in the food store, you're buying more products. You're buying more boxed foods, packaged foods. You know, you're buying more foods that are made in a lab in America. You're buying products of a company versus food that grows, you know, on trees and bushes and things like that. So you have to start cleaning that aspect of your diet up if you want to have a balanced hormones. So, and this does go for the later seasons, by the way, but we're talking about fertile years. And you have to really think about that. You're eating, like, say, if they're eating goldfish and crackers and, you know, all those things, Doritos and potato chips and chocolate chip cookies and Oreos, and I'm just trying to think. And even in the aisles of the drinks, it's all those drinks. I mean, even these poppy drinks and these, just all these drinks that we, you know, they're still products. So water, you know, you'd say, well, water's a product because it's bottled. Yeah, well, if you just drink a really good filtered water from your home, it's really not a product, right? It's water, and you want that filtered. We're going to get into that. That's going to be coming up in the next suggestions for you. But think about what you eat. Think about that. How many fruits and vegetables are you really eating? Because that's a really big thing. Fruits and vegetables. Also, lean meats, fish, cold water is best. You're going to get those omegas in there. Those healthy fats are really, really important for the woman's hormonal systems. So you want to get omega-3s in there. You want to get, let's say, avocados and really, really good olive oil. The real stuff, the real deal from Italy, right? Not the stuff made in Italy, not the crap that's in the store. And that I'm going to do a podcast on, don't worry. But real olive oil, real avocado oil, the real deal. I can't stress it enough. We got to stop eating processed product foods here in America. We have to stop trusting these companies in America. I am on a vengeance because I've been to Spain now and I went to Italy and I've been going on these little Europe trips with my kids. My sons are traveling and I'm really blessed they're inviting me on a few of these things. And the food's just totally different. I have been sitting down with locals. My podcast before this was all about what I explored in Italy about gluten and just fresher and local. And they these areas in some of these countries, they're very regional and they cook from what's grown in that season. So if you did a co-op right here in America and you were to work with a farm, they're just going to give you the foods of the season. So you might get a whole box in the fall of all the fall vegetables, the rutabagas and the squashes and the pumpkins. And you got to figure out what to do with it. Like you're going to cook with that. And that's what these areas and these regions do in Italy and Spain. And you can go from the boot where I was in Bari and you can go over to Rome and they're not going to cook some of the same things. And I've asked for stuff in Rome while I'm in Bari, or you can be like in Naples and ask for something, that's not going to be in Sicily. It's just the way it works because they cook regional and they actually in the morning are out there fishing and getting their catch of the day. So it's fresh, think real food, think whole food, think regional from where you are. I'm in Jersey, but there's farms here, and there's going to be things in seasons for certain months, and for summer foods are going to be different from fall foods, and it's going to be very different to winter. So you want to think that if you have daughters or having problems, what are you feeding them? What are they eating? If they're in college, it's a tough thing. It really is. We've talked about this with a lot of the young girls and guys, but guys don't tend to take this as seriously as the girls do. No offense. I have 3 boys and, it's just different sometimes. But think about what you're eating. Alcohol is another thing too. I know it starts becoming a thing for the younger kids, but alcohol is something that's not friendly to the liver. It's not friendly to the gut. It's going to throw off some of the hormones. So if you're really trying at a certain season or you're really having a health issue related to hormones, clean these things up. Caffeine, the alcohol, the drinks, the sugar. So let's get into that. Where's the sugar coming from? How much sugar do they really eat? Like that Starbucks, forget it. Just get away from it. Just stop. If you have any kind of health problem and you're at Starbucks every day, that's your number one thing I want you to cut out. These kids with the Starbucks drinks. Start Googling them. I have a class that I'm putting together right now. It's about detoxing and starting to remove some of these things. And I have a Starbucks ingredient of one of the Frappuccinos up there. You would not believe what's in those. So what you should do right now, the second thing to do is as you're cleaning up your food is start being a little food detective and start looking at ingredients in food. So you're going to go and look at that Starbucks drinks that you get. Go online, look at the ingredients, start Googling all of them, and then write down what they are and let your brain learn, hey, this is what I put in my body. And then ask yourself why your hormones aren't in order and imbalanced. This is an area where you could really make big changes. So what you drink, what you eat, where's the sugar sources coming from? I'm not going to get into the science behind all this. When you're with me, I really sometimes dive into the science, but I want to keep the podcast simple, light, and I want you to have some walkaways. I could get into the science of, what's going on with the sugar and the insulin and the cortisol and the adrenals and how it affects estrogen and all that stuff. But let's just stay right here. Drinks, clean them up, start Googling things. Stay away from anything made in a lab. So natural flavoring, artificial flavoring, that's all junk. I know somebody bought seltzer the other day and it had lemon flavoring, strawberry flavoring. Now that's definitely going to be cleaner than a soda or let's say an Arizona iced tea, or let's say, I'm trying to think what the kids eat, oh my God, I can't think of the names, but because I don't buy the stuff, Hawaiian juices and all that stuff out there, the Frappuccinos, all that stuff. Seltzer water flavored with a little fake lemon or fake strawberry is going to be healthier. for sure. But if you want to take that a next step up, you would get, make your own seltzer water like I do. I bought a soda streamer. I got rid of all the garbage and syrups it came with. I have a filtered water from my sink, and I put that in the soda streamer to make some carbonated water. And then I will spritz in some 100% organic peach juice I'll buy, or some cherry juice I'll buy, or something like that. And if you want an alcoholic drink, you could throw a little vodka or tequila in that. That's the healthiest type of drink you could do. But again, if we're cleaning up and we're worrying about hormones, I would back up on the alcohol. So we did the drinks, right? Think about coffees, too much caffeine, too much sugar, too much, if you want coffee, I love coffee, get an organic coffee, a very clean coffee, and just drink coffee, a little milk. And then if you're going to use sugar, use a natural cane sugar. Just use natural cane sugar. Your body knows what it is, a little bit of that. Tea's amazing. You can do teas, but make sure they're real tea. Because I've looked at a lot of junk teas, so you have to really be careful with the drinks. And if you have any questions, I'm actually just talking off the top of my head in my podcast here. I'm having a conversation with you, and that's what I love about these. But if you have an idea that's popping in your head that isn't popping in mine, or you have a question, you could always DM me, and, I could address it for you. So foods, I would definitely, fast food is the probably nastiest thing there is. I know some places are cleaner than others. So yeah, if you're going to do fast food, or you're like Lisa, it's absolutely impossible not to use the restaurants. Okay. But remember, the restaurants in America are not using fresh food. Really, they're just not. When I was, when you're in Italy and you kind of see them making everything from scratch, and you might order something and take it away. It's a lot different than going over to Taco Bell, or going over to, McDonald's, or going in, to some of these places. And so I had a friend that was, had called me and said, I just had a complete headache and a complete migraine. And they were at a restaurant like Chipotle, or a restaurant at like Chili's, or a restaurant like Applebee's, or something like that. And I can assure you, they're not using the cleanest and the most, costly and high quality and healthy ingredients. And I know this because, one, America doesn't do that. America works off processed products. And two, I've worked in them as a waitress behind the scenes. And I also, in order to get my degree in nutrition and dietetics way back in 100 years ago, I had to work in cafeterias. I had to work in restaurants, in the behind the scenes. I had to learn the layout. We had to design one. I had to be at the school cafeteria. And that's when I started to see what comes in on the trucks. Now, there is a section where they order the fresh fruits and vegetables, for sure. But a lot of it is really these big, huge cans of just processed stuff, and the sauces and things like that. So if you're having a reaction after you leave a restaurant, it could be any of those ingredients that they've used, in there. So just start eating fresh, clean, healthy. If you need my son has started doing this, and we started talking about this. So, I shouldn't put the boys down, because my 27-year-old lives in his own apartment, and he started doing the meal, services. So he he was using Sunbasket, which is the one I recommended. It's organic, and you can pick your recipes that you like, and they send you all the fresh stuff, and it's pretty fresh. Some of the packets with the sauces and stuff, I'll say, well, you don't know what this is, and he's like, wow, well, how far can I go? It's all fresh. And so I said, you can always learn how to make some of your vinaigrettes and your sauces, cleaner. But this is a great place to start. And he has tried all of them. And he said Sunbasket was the most expensive, but was the best. So you can start eating clean that way. If you own your own apartment and you're young, or if you're at college and you can afford it, you could avoid those cafeterias, or use it lightly, get the lower cafeteria plan, and then try to start learning how to cook and fresh. And here it is, moms, if you're listening to this, a lot of these young girls don't know how to cook. Teach them. My boys all know how to cook. And as my boys are getting older and they're approaching like 25 and 26, they're coming to me saying, well, how can I cook healthier now? My boys know how to cook. Teach your girls how to cook. I can't stress it enough. It's not the girl's job to cook for the entire family, nor is it the boy's job to cook for the entire family. And when you get stressed out and have to cook for a family, whether you're a boy or a girl, it's stressful, right? So learn how to cook healthy so your kids are healthy. And the beautiful thing about cooking is try to change the mindset, no matter who's listening to this and what age you are, is that cooking should be In Italian, it's a place everyone comes together. The kitchen is the hub. It's the place that kids tell you what's going on. It's where they share their feelings with you. So no matter what age you are, when you start cooking for your family and for yourself, and you have a family, it's a place to talk and come together. And in Italians, it's one of the it's one of the most important parts of our culture, because if you come over and you're not eating, we're like, why aren't you eating? Do you not like it? We'll get up and make you something totally else, which that's a whole nother story. We really shouldn't, but did you eat? Did you eat? Did you eat? Did you eat? So that's another thing. Okay, so we're going to jump off that. The second thing you can do is really start looking in your life, because there's things called hormone disruptors. And this is really, really where I struggle getting this point across, and I see the patients don't really do well. They look at me like, no way, no way, no way. Yes way. So you're going to start looking at what you put on your skin. I'm going to say it again. The skin is important. It's the largest organ outside the body, so you want to start looking at what you put on your skin. Girls, that disrupts hormones. There's stuff in them. There's chemicals in, all that stuff. Shampoo, moisturizer, body lotions, body washes, makeup, moisturizers. I'm going to go on and on if I'm missing anything. All that stuff has chemicals in them, fragrances in them, colors in them, dyes in them, ingredients in them that disrupt hormones. What that means is once it gets into your system, it will displace your hormones. So when you do a hormone test with me and I look and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have really high estrogen for 22 years old or 25 years old, or I don't even know why you have no testosterone, we're going to be able to say this disruption in your hormones is I'm going to ask you to clean up everything you put on your skin, and we're going to go through it. And it's a lot, but you can just start small here. Because you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. That's just a lot, Dr. Lisa. Oh my gosh, she's crazy. I'm going to shut this podcast off. No, this is how you clean things up. So you start in one area. Go in your bathroom and think, okay, what do I wash my face with? I'm going to just swap that one out for something cleaner. You can go as clean as using Castile soap. It's the number one thing. Or you can just look for a product that's cleaner. You can also do an oil wash, is what I use, and I just use jojoba or olive oil, high quality oil, and I wash my face with that. So there's things you can do where it's completely pure and you're just using one source, which is the pure source. There's nothing else in it. If you want it to smell yummy, you put really good essential oils in it, and that's your fragrance. You can take a middle of the road and buy a product, buy a company that's keeping it clean. So you have to be a detective here and go through your bathroom, pick one thing so you're not overwhelmed, Google it, look at the ingredients, and don't use those apps. Stop using them. I don't even agree with some of them. If that's what you have to do to start, okay, I'll let you. But I want you to go further with it. Some of those apps really are telling you something safe when it's not. Google the ingredients, read the ingredients, and if it's telling you it's going to disrupt hormones, but the little app you're using, or environmental working groups giving it a number where it's safe, but you're reading that it disrupts hormones, stop using it. So that's what you need to do. Just dig deeper in what you're putting on your skin. Really, really look at that. Okay? So we're talking body lotions, we're talking body washes, we're talking moisturizers, we're talking foundations and makeup and lipstick, and all that stuff is still out there cleaner. And I can help you with that too. We can definitely work on that, but there's a whole big thing there. Okay, so you're going to clean up your food, your drinks, and you're going to clean up your skin. And I don't like going really long with these podcasts, so I'm going to give you one more. And but there's a lot more. There's a lot more that we can work on here. There's things you can do to detox too. But right now, I'm going to leave you with cleaning up the house, the fragrances. And if you just start with fragrances in the house, there's a lot in the house that you can look at, but if you could just look at the fragrances. So if you're in your bedroom, are you spraying perfume on you? Because that is a huge hormone disruptor. If you're in your bedroom and you have any plugins in the wall, they're huge hormone disruptors. If you love candles and you're lighting those and they have fake fragrances in them, that's got to go. So those Yankee candles and things like that, the Bath and Body Works, is all that stuff that these girls like, the Starbucks. Think about their lifestyle, right? Think about your daughter, what she's doing. Even if you have, because I switched my boys over to to diffusers, essential oil diffusers, you still want to make sure you're using really good essential oils and not putting crap essential oils in there and you're breathing them in. So you have to be careful of breathing things in, the fragrances. I'm trying to think, the lotions that you put on that smell delicious, that's got fragrances in there and probably a buttload of chemicals on top that we just previously talked about. But check the smells and the fragrances in there. I know you want to smell yummy, but there's other ways to do it. And essential oils are the way, using the best ones. So the plugins, the candles, the essential oil diffusers, your perfumes, and then like anything that you put on fragrance wise, I don't know if some people's like lipstick smells or taste fun, like that type of stuff. I don't know if they have fragrances. But then if you go over to your laundry, there might be fragrances there. So I know a lot of people, they come in smelling delicious, right? Because they smell good. And they're like, oh, you must have just, they might sound like Bounce or, what's the fabric softeners and all that. It might smell really good. But those things are also disruptors. They're on your clothes, they're on your skin, they're getting into your skin, you're breathing them in, they're getting through inhaling. Again, more hormone disruptors. So I hope that helped, because there's a lot more that I could talk about, and there's a lot more about detoxing. But where I want to leave you is two aspects. It's talking about your toxic load. So if you were in your own fishbowl, if you were a fish in the fishbowl and your fishbowl was your life, your environment, your house, and the water, you're a fish now, right? You're in the fishbowl and the water is super toxic, fish's going to get sick, right? Fish get sick from a toxic environment. They don't necessarily get sick by, sometimes an infection, but typically not. So think of it that way, like how healthy is your fishbowl that you live in? And then you also have to think about, well, what am I putting on my skin? What am I eating? And what am I drinking? And those are actual choices. So how toxic is your environment? And what are the things that you're actually putting into your body? Skin, drinks, food. And that is where you begin on balancing your hormones and working on these fertile years and trying to balance things out. And they also can always reach out to me, because what I do is I work with the gut. The gut is an area where it balances hormones. So your gut, before I leave, just so you understand what I do, is yes, we clean all these things up. That's what this podcast is for, that you have takeaways and you can work on things at home. But if you come to me, I'm going to still have you do all those things at home. But what do I do? Like how can I help you? And what you're going to do with me is we're going to work on your gut. And we're going to work on how inflamed your gut is. And we're going to see if you have a leaky gut, because the gut's function is to actually, believe it or not, break down hormones and eliminate it when it's in excess and you don't need them, or absorb them when you need them. So if your gut isn't working properly, it does the opposite. So what it tends to do is start absorbing hormones when you don't need them. So that's where we get excess hormones. We might have high estrogen. High estrogen comes from the fact that the gut and the liver as well, but the gut is absorbing it back into the body, and it's going to deposit it maybe breasts, maybe uterus, ovaries, possibly in the fat, because it loves the fat receptors. So a lot of estrogen is just getting reabsorbed back into the body, into the hepatic system, and instead of getting eliminated and broken down. And we can actually test for that, and we can actually see if that's happening. But the goal, the crux of this is leaky gut, getting that gut to work properly. So that's what I do. But you on this podcast have a lot of things to go be a detective about now and have fun with us. All right. Thank you so much for listening. This was a long one, but a good one.